Hi, I'm Mark from L&M Small Engines. They be working on a snapper rear engine rider. It's a SR 1230. That means it has a 12 horsepower engine in a 30-inch cut. They had a community auction in town a while back, and this guy bought this and he dropped it off and he wanted me to get it running. So we'll check it out, see if we can get it running for him. So hope you enjoy the video. Okay, according to the motor, this thing was made in 1994. So it's probably a 1995 snapper. It's a 28 cubic inch, 12 horse flathead engine. These are the motors they had before they started making overhead valve engines and stuff. So before I get too carried away, let's check the oil here. Has oil in it. I'm just going to spray a little bit of carburetor cleaner inside the carburetor, see if it wants to start. Looks like it's been sitting for a while too. A lot of old leaves and weeds and everything. Air filter's really dirty. Pretty dirty air filter. But let's spray a little bit of carburetor cleaner in there. See what happens. Well, you don't want that to happen. Backfire like that. Well, let's go ahead and take this gas tank off here. We'll take this air filter base plate off. Turn this around here, you can see how dirty that carburetor is. But pop the spark plug out once and look at that. Nothing's really froze up on the carburetor, but they got a wire for the choke here. The linkage for the choke's gone, so they got this wire, which it's working. There's nothing wrong with that, I guess. But I'm gonna check that spark plug out real quick. Might have like a stuck valve in it or something, but we'll see. This could have old gas. There could be a couple of different things. I'm not gonna give up on it yet. Spark plug is definitely carboned up. We'll try a new plug once and see what happens. Have the fire extinguisher ready this time. It's backfire. It's not backfiring, but it's shooting air back up through the carburetor. So it's either the exhaust valve isn't shutting all the way or it's stuck open. So let's just go ahead and take all the shrouding off this and take the head off, and we'll know more after that. But like I said, the motor is a 1994, so I'm sure it has plenty of hours on it. So I guess we'll just start taking the top off and see what the diagnostics is on this thing. Need to take the cover off for the starter. That's 1/4 inch. Go ahead and take that off. There's 2 bolts in the front and 2 in the back. So the 2 back ones are 7/16. We got 3/8 and a 1/2 inch up front, all different kinds of sizes. Looks like they use about any kind of bolt they could find. Then we have to take the exhaust off to get to the shroud off there. Okay, let's pop that exhaust pipe off. Except one's a 7/16 and one's a 1/2 inch. Now we can take that shroud off the head and we'll pop the head off next. Here we got 2 3/8 inch bolts. Then we take that shroud off. Now we can go ahead and take out all these head bolts here. And them are all 1/2 inch. Okay, we'll spin the Okay, right there it's on full compression. And see the exhaust valve spins. That's where we're getting that air back in there. It's not closing all the way. So that's our problem right there. Obviously burns a lot of oil. We can actually spin that valve. That means it's not shutting all the way. So there's a couple quick fixes you can do on this. You know, we can take that side cover off and unhook the spring retainer and pop the valve out and grind it a little bit. We'll probably have to do like a little valve job on this anyway, because it must not have been setting all the way. But all that oil, it's every time the piston goes back and forth, that's how much oil is coming out of there. So is it even worth getting this thing running? Let's go and take this carburetor off. And there's a 5/16" bolt on a bracket on the back side of the carburetor here. And this one-of-a-kind choke lever here. And I'll unhook the throttle rod. Look at that. Anyways, there's a vent housing right here, and there's a plate right here. I don't know if I can get the camera on there for you to see that real good. So where this vent tube that goes to the carburetor, this plate right there, there's a 5/16 on top and one on the bottom. That's where your valve springs are. Got your spring and your retainer. So we need a valve spring compressor. Then we can pop that end off the exhaust. Or the trick, you can just use just a regular flat screwdriver if you don't have the right tool. I'll show you. Okay, if you have like a valve spring compressor, get these online or, you know, eBay or Amazon or whatever, or Briggs dealer. If you don't have nothing like that, and you don't want to stick too much money in one of these, what I like to do is I just got like a little wedge fork in there. Stick it in there and push that in and just tap the valve a little bit. And then there's two of these little keepers. There's one. There's one on each side of the valve. That's what holds it together. And just wedge it, pop it out. And there's our valve. I'll take the spring out. And by rights, it'd be a lot easier if you did this with the motor off the lawnmower. There's our spring. These little keepers right here. Put the valve in here. And these keepers. That's what locks it into place. So what I'm going to do, a lot of people don't like doing this, but, you know, this is an old motor. The guy just wants it running, you know, just to probably putz around, do a bit of mowing. But we're going to go with a grinder, and we're just going to just slightly grind. You can tell it's been done once already. Just grind this down just a little bit, because I'll show you on the front of the motor here. This thing's so old and so many hours on it. The metal ring for the valve seat is actually getting pushed. It's actually, you can see it's actually getting pushed in the block. So the more that gets pushed in the block, the valve ain't sealing it good anymore. So, you know, this motor is pretty much He just sitting at that little distance. Look how much oil was sitting in the cylinder. And I know he don't want to rebuild this motor. He probably paid $20-$25 to lawnmower itself. So I'm just gonna just grind a little bit of that tip, and we'll put it back together. And it's gonna run. It's probably gonna smoke, kill all the mosquitoes. But I just slightly ground the end of that. Just took this a little bit off. You don't want to take too much off because then the valve's not gonna open all the way. It's not gonna let all the exhaust out. That it hits that ring now, so that's what we wanted. So now all I gotta do is put this back together. It's gonna be kind of hard for you to see inside there, so I'll kind of show you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stick this through here. This valve spring will go in here, and this will go on the in here. And I'll use that fork and compress the spring. And I'll use my magnet and put both of them in there, and it'll lock it into place. But you can't. If this motor was off the lawnmower, it'd be really easy to show you, but it's kind of back in there. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I got them two keepers in there, like I showed you out front here. And all I got to do, I'm going to use a pair of needle nose. Get against that shaft and push it up in there. And they just pop into place. And just spin it. Make sure it's all set. That's how you can do it without them clamps. So I'm going to put that cover back on and everything, and we'll take the wire brush and clean around the valves and everything and put a new head gasket on there. It's still going to burn oil, but at least it's not going to start fires to the carburetor again. And that gasket's still good on this. Like I said, if that ring on the exhaust valve wasn't pushed all the way in on the aluminum block, it's probably be worth rebuilding. But once it starts doing that, it just keeps on doing it. So I guess you could say we're just like putting a Band-Aid on a arterial bleed, I guess. I don't know how to say it, but I'm sure he didn't pay that much for it. In the future, if he wants to keep this lawnmower, we'll just probably have to either find a better old style 28 cubic inch engine, or go and put a new overhead valve engine on there, like a 17.5 horse. I got one of them on the shelf that would bolt right on here, but like I said, I don't know how much money he wants to spend on this thing. But we'll get it together and see how it runs, and I guess he can decide what he wants to do after that. I always go get the wire brush for the drill, and we'll clean the head off and clean the front of the motor off there real good, and I'll just put a new head gasket on there and see what happens. There, now we can go and put the head gasket on. Okay, we got our new head gasket here. Start a couple bolts in there. We'll get them snugged up and I'll go grab the torque wrench. And just getting them snug. And I'll go grab the torque wrench. Okay, now we're going to torque these. And pretty much all these older brigs, it's 25 foot-pounds. Now you set that, you go to the 20 towards 0. And 25 right there. These ain't really, I thought I had them tighter than that, but you don't want to torque them down with your impact. Should have had them more snug than that. And when we tighten them down, we're going to do a cross pattern. Okay, we'll start here. You hear that click? That's your 25. They have them in these torque wrenches in like 3/8 of step. I like using the big 1/2 inch with the long handle. I think it's like more precise, but anything works as long as you get them all the same. I like to do this like a couple times because as you torque it, that head gasket's squeezing together. So it don't hurt to do it, go around a couple times, you know. I'm sure it's all seated up now. So there, we got that done. Well, that carburetor, that's all full of dirt and gunk on the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and blow that off real quick. We'll put the carburetor back on and we'll put the exhaust, or we're not going to put the exhaust on until we get all the shrouding on. Then we'll put the exhaust pipe on. Can't lose our intake gasket for the carburetor. So I'm going to go blow off carburetor and pop the bowl off, make sure it's nice and clean in there. I'm sure it is. Okay, I got it all back together again. Put some fresh gas in it. Use this funky choke lever he has here. Well, there you go. That's kind of like a quick fix, you know. If it's backfiring through the carburetor or it's kicking up, you know, the exhaust up through the carburetor, it's not creating a compression in the cylinder, what makes the piston go back and forth when the spark hits the gas air mixture. You know, a little simple fix like this. Like I showed you that ring for the valves getting sucked in the block, you know. If that was in good shape, I'd consider having the guy have me rebuild it for him. But, you know, when that's the case, you need a new block. And like I said, on the code here, it's a 94 model. So that's what, 29 years old, if my math is right. So there's a few hours on that motor. But anyways, appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed it. You guys have a good afternoon. Bye.